Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTG Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is Grixis Pirates 2.0 for Rivals of Ixalan Standard. So we've done Is It Pirates, we've done Rakdos Pirates. It's finally time to look at the three-color Grixis Pirates. And if you guys don't know, Grixis Pirates is red, blue, and black. Of course, those are all the colors used for the pirate kind of dimension there. I would say that out of all of the lists here, I personally like Rakdos Pirates a little more because I think it's a lot faster. But I do like Grixis Pirates in that it does have a lot of flexibility in the mid to late game, especially against those big threats like dinosaurs or the green-red monster stack that is kind of coming up right now in popularity. But of course, before I get into the video, make sure to like the video if you like it and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, more streams in the future, and of course more ranting, rambling videos in the future as well. But without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. We have Daring Buccaneer, a 4 of 1 mana 2/2 human pirate. As an additional cost to cast Daring Buccaneer, reveal a pirate card from your hand or pay 2 colorless mana. Daring Buccaneer, we do not want to pay 3 mana for. We want to make sure this is a turn 1 or turn 2 play for us. Daring Buccaneer is very, very good. A 1 mana 2/2 is awesome on the play, getting in on turn 2 for attacks. If not, it's just going to be a decent 2/2 in the mid to late game. But again, we don't want to pay 3 mana for a Daring Buccaneer. It's just not what we want to do. Next up, we have Direfleet Poisoner. This is finally the spot where I think Poisoner actually makes a lot more sense for us than the Rakdos list we came up with last week. It's a 3 of 2 mana 2/2 human pirate with flash and death touch, and with Direfleet Poisoner enters the battlefield, target attacking pirate you control gets +1/+1 and gains death touch until end of turn. One of the things I really love about this is flash, so it can be a great defensive, basically a block spell against a huge monster on our opponent's side of the field, or it can be a great aggressive creature for our side of the field. As our creatures are attacking out, our opponent blocks one of our creatures, well, our creature's going to die. Let's use Direfleet Poisoner as a flash cast, bring it in, and then make sure that actually our creature either survives or they at least trade with a death touch. Either way, Poisoner has a lot of flexibility in the mid to late game and is really, really good on the play. Next up here for us, we have Fathom Fleet Captain, a 4 of here. Now, this was a card that was originally in my first Rakdos list that I took out in the second Rakdos list that I think has a home here thanks to the actual colors surrounding it. Fathom Fleet Captain is a 4 of 2 mana 2/1 human pirate with menace. Whenever Fathom Fleet Captain attacks, if you control another non-token pirate, you may pay 2 colorless. If you do, create a 2/2 black pirate creature token with menace. Again, this is a great turn 2 play for us if we get Daring Buccaneer out on turn 1. If we get an attack out on turn 3 for this, we definitely want to be paying the 2 mana because creating a 2/2 with menace just makes our board go extremely wide and have a lot of evasion against our opponent. I will say, however, that Fathom Fleet Captain is kind of one of those cards that is more of a removal magnet more often than not, but I do like it nonetheless in helping us kind of move forward and being aggressive. Moving up here, we have Karizev Skyship Raider. This is one of the few cards that's not in the Ixalan block here. It's a 2 mana 1/3/3 of here, first strike and menace. When Karizev Skyship Raider attacks, create a legendary 2/1 red monkey creature token named Ragavan that's tapped and attacking. Exile that token at the end of combat. So again, if we don't have a Fathom Fleet Captain, a Karizev on turn 2 is fantastic for us, getting in on turn 3 with a 1/3 and a 2/1 if our opponent doesn't want to block the 2/1 thanks to their side of the field. Of course, this isn't a 4 for me because it is a legendary creature, so it does mean we can't have multiples on the battlefield at the same time. So kind of getting into multiples of this card on game 1 or game 2 is not as good as it should be unless our opponent has lots of removal. Moving on here to the 3 mana slot, we have Captain Lannery Storm, another legendary creature for us, a 3 mana 3 of 2/2 with haste. Whenever Captain Lannery Storm attacks, create a colorless treasured artifact token with, of course, tap sack, and whenever you sacrifice a treasure, Captain Lannery Storm gets +1/+0 until end of turn. We're going to talk about spells in a minute, but this is a great Fatal Push trigger for us to help get a 4 mana converted mana cost creature to be destroyed by Fatal Push. Besides that, Lannery Storm is actually a very good card on turn 3, being able to attack it immediately for 2 mana, but also fantastic for us at being able to ramp if we're kind of low on mana or we're in need of some mana or a specific color of mana, thanks to Lannery Storm being able to create treasures. She's very fast, she's very flexible in the mid to late game, and of course, she might die immediately, but if she creates 1 treasure, I think that might be worth it, depending on how your mana base is at that proper moment. Moving up to another card here, we have Forerunner of the Coalition, a 3 mana 2/2 human pirate, a 3 of here. When Forerunner of the Coalition enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a pirate card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. Whenever another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. I really like Forerunner here because in the mid to late game, if we're just playing up pirates, we really have the ability to just kind of drain our opponent straight up, and that's super useful for us. It's also very good to be able to kind of tutor for some important cards like Hostage Taker and Admiral Beckett Brass, which is also in the deck, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But very, very good at being able to kind of tutor some pirates we don't have in our hand just yet, or maybe tutor for another Forerunner to have the ability to drain our opponent for an extra 2 life instead of just 1 life whenever we cast a pirate. Very good. Another card that kind of has like a removal magnet kind of demeanor. I do think Forerunner of the Coalition is quite good though for 3 mana. Moving up here, we have Admiral Beckett Brass, just a 1-of, thanks to our 3 Forerunner of the Coalition. It's a 4 mana 3/3 1-of legendary creature human pirate. Other pirates you control get +1/+1. That's fantastic. At the beginning of your instep, gain control of target non-land permanent controlled by a player who was dealt combat damage by 3 or more pirates this turn. That secondary ability for us is very difficult to get off. Obviously, we have Fathom Fleet Captain with menace creatures, so it's not going to be impossible to get off if we have Admiral Beckett Brass on the battlefield. It's just one of those actual abilities that is super difficult to get off because of so much spot removal in the format, as well as other aggro creature-based decks in the format as well. So I'm really just using Admiral Beckett Brass here as an Anthem effect and a 3/3 pirate. But moving up to what I feel like is the better pirate to pick here, we have Hostage Taker. It's a 4 mana 3-of 2/3 human pirate. When Hostage Taker enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature until Hostage Taker leaves the battlefield. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend any mana as though it were mana of any type to cast that spell. Hostage Taker for us is very good against a green-red monsters set. It's very good against the Hazoret deck. Very good against kind of grabbing their biggest bomb and using it against them. Obviously, our opponent might just have removal for our Hostage Taker if it comes into the battlefield, so we do want to be aware of how many cards are in our opponent's hand, because Hostage Taker can be completely lethal against an opponent who's using just one big creature, or is like kind of like focusing on a single creature, like the Blue White Auras deck recently, to make sure that their battlefield is very like competent. We can take that creature, we can get rid of all those auras, recast it on our side of the field because it's very cheap, and use it against them. And of course, there's no better feeling than taking a Glorybringer for an opponent and casting it for ourselves. But that is all the creatures in the deck here. We have 24 in total, so let's get on to spells here real quick. We have, starting out with 4 Fatal Push. It's a 1 mana instant, destroy target creature if it has converted mana cost 2 or less, and of course Revolt, destroy that creature if it has converted mana cost 4 or less instead of a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn. Fatal Push is again going to be a 4-of here. In Grixis, again, Fatal Push is one of the best removal cards in the format at the moment. Going to be a 4-of in the deck. Might be coming out as a 2-of in the deck in game 2, depending on what kind of matchup we're up against. If we're up against a deck with a lot of 4 mana and 5 mana creatures and up from there. Dinosaurs is an example. Green-red monsters as well. So Fatal Push may be coming out for that particular matchup, but against most matchups, Fatal Push is just ridiculous. Moving up here, we have 2 Abrade. This is here for the Mardu Vehicles matchup. This is here for the Godfarer's Gift matchup. It's a 2 mana instant. Choose 1. Abrade deals 3 damage to target creature, and of course, destroy target artifact at instant speed. So fantastic for us on the play, and fantastic for us on our opponent's turn if they get a Godfarer's Gift out on the battlefield. Next up, we have 2 Charted Course. We don't have Ruin Raider in the actual deck here. That is kind of an issue for us, but I do think we're fine based on our removal suite and our other creatures on the side of the field where they actually create more creatures like the Fathom Fleet Captain. So I think Charted Course here is just really great padding for us to be able to draw some cards. So it's a 2 mana sorcery, draw 2 cards, then discard a card unless you attack with a creature this turn. Because our deck is very aggressive, a 2 mana draw 2 is actually not bad. We will very rarely be discarding a card with Charted Course. Moving up here to the 3 mana slot, we have Fiery Cannonade. This is a fantastic main board card for us. It's a 3 mana instant. Fiery Cannonade deals 2 damage to each non-pirate creature. So great against merfolk, great against vampires, great against a lot of the lower end dinosaurs as like Raptor Hatchling or a Drover of the Mighty in the early game, things like that. Obviously Raptor the Hatchling will trigger Enrage for this, turning it into a 3/3, so it may not be the answer for us for that, but Fiery Cannonade is also not going to hurt any of our creatures at all because it's non-pirate, so it does mean that all of our creatures are completely safe while their side of the field takes 2 points of damage. And if you're noticing right now the Grixis energy lists, Glintsleeve Siphoner is a pain in the rear to deal with, so I think Fiery Cannonade is a main boardable card for us for almost that reason alone. But a lot of other things in Round Up Red as well. I keep calling it Round Up Red, but it should be Hazoret Red now, I guess, or Mono Red aggro, whatever you want to call it. There are a lot of lower end creatures there that Fiery Cannonade can deal with in game 1 as well. Next up here we have Lookout's Dispersal, a 3 mana instant. It's a 2-of here. Lookout's Dispersal costs 1 colorless less to cast if you control a pirate, which most likely we will, so it's a 2 mana instant here. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 4 colorless. Very good, basically a straight up counter spell in the early game. In the mid to late game, it may not be a counter spell, but it could be a way to just slow down our opponent and kind of like get rid of some removal that our opponent's getting out, or if they have a creature hitting the battlefield, they may want to save their actual mana for a removal spell, and that kind of could be a way to kind of indicate to us that there is a removal spell coming our way, and so Lookout's Dispersal can be a great way to kind of tutor that out as well. But great card for us, and of course there's some in the sideboard as well if we need it. And lastly, we have Vraska's Contempt, a 4 mana instant here, 1-of, exile target creature or planeswalker, you gain 2 life. life. The passive 2 life gain is actually more important here than I realized most of the time, but just being able to exile the creature on our opponent's side of the field in game 1 is very important. Cards like Scarab God, cards like Scorpion God, which is kind of showing up a lot right now, and even, of course, the Locust God. It's very strange that a lot of those are starting to kind of rise in popularity now, but I do think Vraska's Contempt is very good at being able to get rid of those hard to deal with creatures that just come back turn over turn. But those are all the cards in the main board besides lands here. Let's go over lands real quick. We have Unclaimed Territory, 4 of here. As Unclaimed Territory enters battlefield, choose a creature type, taps for colorless, and of course, add mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells of the chosen type. So we have 24 pirates in the deck, and Unclaimed Territory is here for that. Next up here, we have Spire Bluff Canal. It's a fast land that taps for blue or red, very good for us. Then we have 3 Buddy Lands for Dragon Skull Summit, taps for black or red. And then, of course, 3 more Buddy Lands, Drowned Catacombs, tapping for blue or black. And of course, we have 3 Swamp, 3 Mountain, and 3 Island. And that is going to do it for the mana base. There are 23 lands in total, but I do think we're okay. We could have gone for 24 lands here, but I do think that because of our curve being slightly lower than normal, I think 23 lands is fine. So what can we do in the game 2 matchup here? So against Control, or against another aggro deck, or against maybe another deck with a lot of creatures that go really large. What can we do in game 2? Let's go to our sideboard here. We have 2 Magma Sprays. This is going to come in against the mono red aggro, the vampire deck, of course. Anything else we need to deal with, like a Scrap Heap Scrounger, things like that in Mardu vehicles. Magma Spray is a 1 mana instant, deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So that does mean if they have a die trigger, this does just exile the creature instead. So that does mean the die trigger doesn't go off as well. So very good against a vampire matchup. Next up here, we have 1 Crooked Condemnation, just kind of representing the kind of exiling of a graveyard for our opponent against a Godfarer's Gift strategy, Selesnya strategy, where they have the the Resilient Kinras, or against a mono red strategy with Earthshaker Kinra, things like that. Next up here, we have 3 Kitesail Freebooter. It is a 2 mana 1/2 human pirate with flying. When Kitesail Freebooter enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from and exile that card until Kitesail Freebooter leaves the battlefield. Fantastic for us on the play against a control opponent, or against an opponent with a lot of heavy removal. Grixis Control is finally starting to kind of come up from the ashes of all the other decks right now, and I think Kitesail Freebooter is one of the cards to be a great counter to that deck in the early game. Next up here, we have 2 Negate coming in again. It's a 2 mana instant counter target non-creature spell. This is going to come in if we're going up against a deck with a Planeswalker or maybe a lot of spot removal. We really want to be dealing with that as quickly as possible, and Negate is here for that. Then we have 2 Warkite Marauder. If we're up against like a green-red monsters deck or something like that, where they have like Reach or just a large creature that we want to deal with a fire candidate after that, this can come in as a great way to do that. It's a 2 mana 1/2 human power with flying, and whenever it attacks, target creature defending player controls loses all abilities and has base power and toughness 0/1 until end of turn. So Warkite Marauder coming in, attacking out, and then using Fire Cannonade to destroy that creature is a great combo for us in game 2. Moving on here, we have 2 more Lookout's Dispersal. Of course, it's a counter spell for us, and if we need this coming in game 2, this is just going to be coming in against another heavy removal deck, or against a more control heavy deck for sure. Maybe even an approach deck to make sure that second approach trigger doesn't go off if they can slow us down that much. And the last 3 cards in the sideboard here are 3 more Vraska's Contempt. There are a lot of really large creatures right now in the meta, and Vraska's Contempt deals with them really quickly. A 4 mana instant, of course, exile target creature, Planeswalker, you gain 2 life. We just talked about it. Making a 4 of it, the main board here is definitely going to go up against the green-red monsters list, definitely going to go against the dinosaurs list, definitely going to go up against anything with Scarab God, Locust God, Scorpion God. We don't like those cards. We want them out of there. We want them not even in the graveyard. We want them in exile. And if we're going up against Chandra, Torch of Defiance, or any other Planeswalker, we want to bring Vraska's Contempt in as well. But that is the full 75, folks. Let's go here to the full breakdown. On MTG Traders, it's coming to about 80 tickets, and in paper, you can get it for about 184 bucks, which isn't too bad. I would say that's in the mid to low end of a competitive style deck. But I love this deck a lot. So turn 1, we go Daring Buccaneer, show a pirate in our hand. Turn 2, go for Fathom Fleet Captain or a Carry Zev. Turn 3, go for an attack. Hold up either a Direfleet Poisoner, or kind of going for a Forerunner of the Coalition. Grab either Lannery Storm or grab an Admiral Beckett Brass, maybe even a Hostage Taker by turn 4. And turn 4, either play out Admiral Beckett Brass, Lannery Storm, Hostage Taker, or maybe you can kind of hold up mana for some Fatal Pushes, Abrades, things like that. In game 2, we may want to be boarding out Fiery Cannonade for 2 more Lookout's Dispersal, maybe it's 2 Negate or a Kitesail Freebooter, depending on what kind of matchup we're going up against. Same thing for Charter Course or a Braid, depending on what kind of matchup we want. We may not want to have a Braid in the main board. We may want to board that out and bring in Vraska's Contempt or 2 Magma Spray. You know, there's a lot of different choices we have here because we actually have some slots to kind of tweak our deck to make sure we can actually kind of combat against different archetypes. But that is the full 75, folks. Let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you have any suggestions for it, of course? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. One card I actually thought about bringing in here was the Siren Stormtamer. Of course, that's a 1-mana 1/1 flying pirate that can kind of counter a spell that targets us or a creature we control. I like that card a lot, but I feel like I want to kind of make sure the deck is going more towards an aggro position, and I do like that card. I feel like if we wanted to replace a card in the main board, you should probably replace Direfleet Poisoner for that slot. I do think that is probably the only slot I think I would replace in the actual deck list if you wanted to go more towards like a control route right there. If you think you're going up against a lot of like Settle the Wreckage in a format, or you're going up against like just so much spot removal you can't handle it, Direfleet Poisoner might be coming out, and of course Siren Stormtamer might be coming in. But that is my opinion. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the stream or in the next video. Peace.